Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. The sanctions don't work. Don't work for Russia or work for Russia in a way that they negatively affected the West more than the Russians. And the sanctions were supposed to affect Russia, not the countries that imposed the sanctions, right? That's how the logic goes. Unfortunately, those guys who imposed the sanctions, it seems like I don't think they could have been so dumb. Let's start with this theory. I do not think that those guys who imposed sanctions on Russia could be so wrong. Their margin of error is so big here that it contradicts any kind of analyst or person who would look at the issue before imposing sanctions. This article comes from The Insider from July 27, 2022, and this is the title. Despite sweeping sanctions, Russia's economic outlook has improved since April, but it's gotten worse for almost every other nation. Well, what are you going to do? If something doesn't work, what do? You stop, reassess the situation, and you apply something else, right? Or don't apply anything else if you don't find something that would work, right? Instead of doing something bad, don't do anything, right? Or, as I said, reassess, stop, reassess, and try something else, see how that works. But I think, to be honest with you, which I think it works. I think it worked exactly how it was intended to work. I have this kind of gut feeling. The same thing as, with Iraq and Afghanistan. We say, oh, that was an error. It was an error if we look at it. But if we look from the angle of the guys who made all those decisions, it worked perfectly. They say, oh, maybe it worked perfectly for them and for some friends of theirs. The IMF forecast Russia's economy to contract 6% this year, an improvement from its April forecast. Russia's crude oil and energy exports have been holding up better than expected. Maybe it was meant to be like this because other companies are making profits as well. Maybe that's why I'm saying the sanctions work just fine, as they were meant to be working. Global economic outlook is gloomy. For whom? With growth likely to hit 3.2% this year, down from 6.1% in 2021. Russia's economy is holding up better than expected amid sweeping sanctions over its invasion of Ukraine, according to the IMF. International Monetary Fund World Economic Outlook report issued on yesterday. The IMF slashed growth forecast for almost every country, but upgraded Russia's economic forecast, with the country's economic still contracting but by 6%, an improvement from the IMF April forecast of 8.5% contraction. That's because Russia's crude oil and non-energy export have been holding up better than expected. The IMF wrote in its report. They were all wrong all the time here, at every corner. In addition, domestic demand is also showing some resilience thanks to containment of the effects of the sanctions on the domestic financial sector and a lower than anticipated weakening of the labor market. That's still a fairly sizable recession in Russia in 2022, IMF chief economist Pierre-Olivier Gourinja told the Agence France Presse. And there is no rebound for Russia, with the country's economic expectation to contract by 3.5% in 2023, down from IMF's April forecast of 2.3% contraction, as sanctions now their way through the economy. Overall, the IMF warned of a gloomy economic outlook with global growth likely to hit 3.2 this year, down from 6.1 in 2021%, due to higher than expected inflation, a slowdown in China, and fallout from the war in Ukraine. Europe's growth is weighing down by the possibility of a Russian natural gas supply halt, as countries in the region are heavily dependent on the fuel import. GDP growth for the Eurozone is expected to slow to 2.6% this year, down from 5.4% in 2022. The US economy is also slowing sharply, with growth expected to reach 2.3% this year, down from 5.7% in 2021. The world may soon be teetering on the edge of global recession only 2 years after the last one, said Gorincha. The IMF typically publishes the World Economic Outlook forecast twice a year. They are based on data and projections from 196 economies. So, did you see how they put the numbers? In Russia, the economy was contracting, and on the other side, the growth is slowing down. You know what I mean? So maybe it's just different, but it's like the economy goes this much, and it's contracting, right? The economy is contracting, so it's going down. This is the Russian situation, and now Europe is here, and then it's not going to be over there. It's not contracting. Is how do you call it? It's forecast not to have this. It's slowing down. That means this goes this because it's slowing down. So instead of using the same term from both of them, like all economies are contracting, the Russian economy is contracting with 5% or whatever it contracts. Over there it contracts with about 3%. But no, they didn't use the same term. Over there it's slowing down, here is contracting. Why? Because contracting sounds uglier, I guess, than slowing down. Because if you slow down, that means you contract. I think, I mean, if the dictionary says otherwise, then please let me know. But contracting and slowing down is a decrease of something, right? Decrease from a certain level, decrease. But it seems like they hurt themselves as well. I don't know how much the Russian war and the sanctions play a role in this. What would be the percentage? But I think they just try to use that as a reason why the economies are in deep doo-doo because of the pandemic policies that were instituted and so on. I think that played a big role. I don't know how big. I would say bigger than the sanctions, but I do not have the data, and they don't provide the data because they would then the population will start pointing fingers. Some people in the population, not everybody. Everybody still has the beer. They have the beer, the movies, and so on. So there will be. It's still good. It can be better. I don't live my life to be not as bad as yesterday. I want it to be better than yesterday. Not it's worse than yesterday, but I'm still okay. No. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I don't think I started my life when I started being, an adult, saying, you know what, I hope it doesn't get worse than, it's going worse, but is it still okay? No, I'm in this life to have a better life, right? Not not as bad as it could be. The empty glass, full glass view on things. So thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.